Writing in CELPIP is the second hardest module after speaking. Most people fail in speaking, okay? Writing is the next thing, all right? So the reason why people fail in writing and speaking is because it's subjective. Now, we have worked with examiners, and that's what they tell us. We worked with one really good writing examiner and a really professional speaking examiner for CELPIP. What they told us is simple. In reading and listening, you are marked by the computer. So if you're good, you're good. You know, you got the right answers. But writing and speaking, you can be judged by a human, and a human might say, you know, I don't like his point. Another human might say you're good. You know, that's why sometimes when you apply for reevaluation, some people get 3 points more in reevaluation because another human being thought differently. So being subjective, it could be a very different range of marks you get, but there are ways where you can guarantee that you hit your points every time, and no matter what human being is judging you, you're good. Okay. Now, if you have come here from my YouTube videos or other content online or on my website, you would notice that we highly focus on our templates. But the lucky thing for you is the templates that you're going to see here are more updated, advanced, and catered for every situation. They're not like my YouTube templates for both writing formal and informal letters or emails for task 1. And if you are new to our company and this is your first experience with HZad education, we have a secret of success here. We use templates for writing and speaking. These templates are written pre-made words that you can plug and play for any writing task, any speaking task you get. These are words and sentences like this, with your intro, with your conclusion, and you can see the intro there has 32-ish words, and then you got your conclusion with about 24 words. So about 35% of your word requirement is right there. It's satisfied with you just memorizing, going in the exam and just using these words. So first of all, it helps you with speed. It helps you getting a lot of work done in a short amount of time. Secondly, it helps you using the very advanced vocab, sentences, phrases, expressions, and punctuation marks, because that's what we have put there to maximize your marks. So you just have to use them. And thirdly, it's mistake proof, which means you don't want to risk anything or try something new. Copy paste these things that work for every student and they will work for you too. The last thing with the templates is, even though it's not going to cover every paragraph, like body 1, 2, 3, you don't have a template for that. There are directions, we'll talk about those, but you don't have a template. I will not give you a template for that because every question is different. And you also don't want to memorize everything because the examiner is going to catch up to it. There are situations where you can use some words. For example, when we talk about the formal letter coming up, there are some words that you can use, but again, it's not complete sentences like you have in the intro and conclusion. Don't worry, we're going to go with each paragraph one at a time, so you'll be able to catch up with what I mean. But what I'm trying to get at is you won't have, for example, 150 words for my template, because you can't just copy the same thing. You have to base it according to the question and add some of your own words as well. Now, the good news is when you do this template, when you use the structure, everything you write by yourself too falls into the structure that is needed for CELPIP. As you can see, we have the paragraphs organized 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll go over that later. It falls in the right structure. It also balances your time. You will not exceed time if you use this structure because it does a lot of work for you. You will not exceed the word limit if you follow the structure. So it has a lot of benefits in other areas too, like task response, organization, time, and structure. That's why you should memorize everything that you see on the screen. That is why on this folder, you would see I have uploaded the writing task 1 template separately, which is this file, and that's what you need to memorize. Now I'm going to edit this. Okay, I'm going to write a task 1 informal letter right in front of your eyes and a formal letter, show you how I would do it. So you can use that as an example, and this will be uploaded as the class notes as well. Okay, so now let's jump into it. Let's go into the informal letter. Okay. By the way, sorry, one more thing. I'm coming to this lesson after the vocabulary lesson. So if you haven't seen that lesson, check that out because I'm going to mention a lot of things here that are from that lesson about the vocab when I start writing. All right, so let's look at the first question. You need to organize a surprise party for your classmate, email your friends, and organize this party. You should say why the party is needed, when and where should it be, what the classmates should do. You should write at well, between, I think it was at least, or between 150 to 200 words, and that's a question. Okay, you got about 26 minutes for task 1 and task 2. First thing you should do is brainstorm. Okay, by brainstorming, I mean making a skeleton, an outline of what you're about to write. You should give this 2 to 3 minutes out of your 26 minutes. These 2 to 3 minutes could be the difference between you scoring a 7 or you scoring a 10. It's very important. So here's what happens. People look at this question and then they start writing, okay? They get, we see this so many times because we do so many assessments of writing. This is a tone we see time and time again, okay? So people get the first 2 paragraphs perfect. Maybe starting the 3rd paragraph, they start drifting away from the topic. And by the time you hit the 4th paragraph, it's like you're talking about something completely different. And the reason why that happens is because you read the question maybe 15 minutes ago, and now you have about 10 minutes left, and you're at this paragraph. You already forgot the question. You think you're writing about the question, but you haven't read the question in a while. You kind of forgot about it. You're also looking at the time, and you're nervous. So now you have all these distractions. You're also thinking, gosh, I got to go back up and proofread. Your mind is messed up, and people lose marks on task response. It's so funny that it always happens towards the last 2 bodies, or the last body especially, and that clearly is psychological because you're panicked about the time, you want to finish it, and you forgot the question. So what you should do is brainstorm. If you brainstorm in the first 2 to 3 minutes, you will never go away from this question because you will just use the points in your brainstorming to answer, and you won't be distracted from the time or anything else. This, I promise you, this is something that our best students do. So I'm talking about people who score 9 to 12, they use this strategy. They're not, because you might think, I'm too good, I have a good mental capacity, I don't have to write an outline. I promise you do. Okay, I write an outline. I've been teaching this for more than 10 years. I still write an outline if I want to do a good writing because it's natural for the human mind to dance around and forget the main points. So what you got to do is pretty simple. Make B1, B2, B3, and make sure to delete it after you're writing because you don't want to write that in the writing. You also could take a piece of paper and write down your notes there if you like to. Okay, because when you see the structure, which we'll discuss, you have your intro, body 1, body 2, body 3, which are the 3 paragraphs in the middle. So you got 3 bodies. And then you have your conclusion. So that means you have total 5 paragraphs. So let's talk about body 1, body 2, body 3. So for each of these bodies, you need 2 points. Okay, 2 points, and I'll tell you later why 2 points. But first, let's just come up with 2 points. Why is the party needed? Okay, because why is it needed? Because your friend has been sad lately, and it's a good way to meet up. Okay, so if you have your friends, you can meet up with them. It's a great way to meet up. Okay, and the second question is simple: when and where. So it's easy, as simple as that. When is the first point? Where is the second point? Okay, here the examiner helped you. You don't even have to do any thinking. What the classmates should do, let's do 2 points there. Classmates should bring some food and be ready to shout surprise, because that's what you do in surprise parties. You shout surprise. Now, how long did this take? Barely 30 seconds, right? But I will say 2 to 3 minutes. Let's say you're taking your time to think, that's fine. But with time, you can develop this skill. Okay, let's talk about that more too. With time, how much time do you have? I get a lot of requests of people buying this course 2 to 3 days before their exam. And again, that's why I always say this is the best course to buy if your exam is really close by, even a week away. because there's nothing online like this for CELPIP. You have a self-paced course here. You can just practice it at your own pace. You can finish it within a day. You can finish it in 2 days. And no matter where you are, if your exam is even a year later, you can still work on this. So this is the best resource you can have online. But if your exam is close by, what you should do, because you don't have a lot of time to practice on brainstorming, use your mock tests. Check out the writing questions that we have provided you in this course. With each question, you don't have to write every time. Just go to each question and close your eyes, 2 to 3 minutes, brainstorm. What am I going to put in body 1, body 2, body 3? The next question, formal or task 2, we're going to talk about task 2 brainstorming later. Again, brainstorm, you don't have to write it, just verbally attempt the answer. And we have, again, the mock tests we have here. If you want to practice brainstorming more, what you can do is go online. Go to, just type on Google, letter examples. Letter examples for all tests are pretty much similar to this. Check out some letter questions and think. Body 1, body 2, body 3, 2 points per body. Okay? So that's how you can improve your brainstorming. Now, why do you need 2 points? First of all, you have the 3 body paragraphs. When you consult different teachers and when you see different online samples, and by the way, like I cannot name the company or companies that put all those online samples up because they have lots of problems in them. Please don't trust anything you see online. You can 100% trust us based on, you can just see, you type CELPIP on Google, we're everywhere. You can see our reviews, how we assist people in passing. People pass with our strategies. So if you just have seen our online presence, you would know that everything we say works, okay? So when we see those samples online where people are getting, they say this sample is gonna score 10 or more, in reality, those people score only 6 or 7. For 10 or more, you need a very different level of English, which you will have just after this lesson, in fact. So there, what happens is in those samples, you also get confused because you see a sample online where you don't have 3 bodies. You have 1 body. Okay, 1 body has everything. Sometimes you have 2 bodies and sometimes you have 3 and sometimes you have 4. So it's really confusing. One thing I can guarantee you is CELPIP does not like more than 5 paragraphs. So if you have intro and conclusion and 3 bodies, that's perfect, that's max. The other thing is, again, examiners are humans, they prefer different things. Some examiners like everything in 1 body. Some examiners want multiple bodies to keep it separate. But what we're doing here is we have 3 bodies for the 3 bullet points. Okay, so the first body answers the first bullet point, second body answers the next bullet point, third body answers the third bullet point. So you have the structure where everything is answered. And then for each bullet point, we will have 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points. So when you do this, not only do you have the perfect structure, but you answer each question in detail. And no examiner is ever going to say that this is incomplete. Because again, as I said at the beginning of this lesson, they say that the task response is not there. You know, I'm not satisfied with the answer. I feel that the candidate did not answer the question. Why did they say that? Because you don't have enough information. But if you do 2 points per question, you have enough information and you're covering each bullet point separately in every paragraph. So there's task response and structure, and you get all 100% in those marks. Okay, so now your brainstorming is done. Let's go to the next step, starting with dear. In informal letters, of course, you're going to start with dear and just the name. I just like to say dear Bob. You know, I make it simple, dear Bob, and then name. Always my name is Charlie or something. Okay, you don't need a full name because it is informal, so you just do the first name. And you don't think at the exam about the name, just put any freaking name, okay? Let's move on. Formal letter, we'll get to that, but I just want to mention at this point that when you say dear, don't write HR manager, dear boss, dear whatever. CELPIP likes a more personalized approach, so use the name. Mr. You want to say Mr. or Sir or whatever, but use the name, okay? Don't use the job title. All right. Okay, we'll go to formal later though, but informal, yeah, dear Bob. Best regards, and Charlie. Okay. Now, this is gonna be the start. Hopefully, you and your family member or friend, okay, This depends on the type of letter or email you're writing. It's going to be mentioned from the question who you're writing to, so you can address them accordingly. For example, if you're writing to your sister-in-law, right? So hopefully you and your husband are in great spirits. Okay. In this case, you are writing to your classmate. So class email your friends. Okay. So in this case, it's going to be different. It's going to be hopefully you guys are in great spirits. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark, you will see me mentioning that multiple times. Exclamation marks are important because this is going to show that you are expressing feelings, and you express feelings when you write to informal people like friends or family. For example, if I want to express negative feelings, I'm going to say, this is ridiculous, exclamation mark. I hate this approach, exclamation mark. Or positive, I'm so excited, or I'm so amazed, exclamation mark, right? When we use these, we're using this with informal people, and that's what many people miss in the informal letter. That's why we need to do that. We need to include something that shows it's a real informal letter. Hopefully is a li, as I mentioned in the previous lesson. The more li's you have, the better, okay? Because people rarely use it. Now, instead of you saying, I'm sorry, just say, my apologies. Again, something different, something unique. My apologies for not being in touch, but I am making up for it via this letter. So I'm sorry for, not being in touch, but let me do this letter and make it up to you. At least I hope so. So I'm hoping that, this letter will make it up for me not being there. And you have a semicolon, advanced punctuation, and you have again an exclamation mark giving you that mark for punctuations. Okay. Now this is more personal. Now because usually like 85% of the times you write to a person, not to a bunch of friends. But since we're writing to friends, let's add this here. My apologies for not being in touch with you all. Okay. And you're good to go. Now, a few things here. I was thinking to say my apologies for not being in touch with you guys. But I already said that here, so I didn't. I said you all. All right, just keep changing it up. And you can see I have an exclamation mark here and one here. So I probably am not going to put one here, but later on I will. Okay, it's easy. It's good to have maybe 4-ish exclamation marks in your task one, or maybe more, maybe 5. That should be good enough. Okay. This paragraph, your introduction, copy paste, guys. No need to think. No need to modify it. Just modify it only to the extent that you have, who you're addressing, you all, you guys, and hopefully you and your wife or husband or whatever. You can also take a random name. Hopefully you and Charles are doing good, are in great spirits. Because it's more informal. We're going to get to the body parts later. Let's check out the conclusion. I am hoping this letter finds you well. This is an intentionally simple sentence, okay? We want to make a combination of simple and complex sentences, as I mentioned in my previous lesson. And but at the same time, it's not that simple, because I'm not just saying I hope you get this letter. It's a little complex phrasing, but not complex sentence. Do get back to me whenever you get a chance. Again, another simple one. I can't wait to see you. I put an exclamation mark here. It's different from the YouTube template again. And just how you would close informally. You wouldn't really make it too fancy. When you go formal, that is fancy. I'll show that to you in a bit. And then you finish with best regards, your name. Cool? All right. Memorize that for intro and conclusion. Now let's get into the body paragraphs. You got your exclamations. This is something I've mentioned in every body. Okay, it's not a template. These are guidelines for you guys. Whenever you approach your body paragraphs, make sure you have your exclamation marks. Basic words, okay? You don't want to use advanced words. This is where people lose marks when they say stuff like, I'm looking forward to talking to you, or I would like to request you, or it would be my honor to welcome you. When you say that stuff in informal letters, you lose marks, okay? That's like if you say I'm looking forward to, you think it's perfect, right? This is what people say. You lose marks in the informal letters for saying that. So, because you got to make it informal, like friendly. Nobody talks like that to their friends. Complex sentences, we need that. Informal but not slang vocab. What do I mean by this? It's things like when you want to say good, you should say awesome, okay? Because that's how I talk to my friends, awesome. Instead of saying, how are you? Like, we basically have this. You don't need to say, how are you? But you can say, what's up? Okay, what's going on? That's informal, but it's not slang. It's not bad words, okay? So you don't want to use bad words there, just informal vocabulary. And adjectives and adverbs. This is the place where you are going to use adjectives and adverbs. There is no other place other than informal letters, because you can, like, you're talking to your friend about a vacation, you can talk about how scenic and amazing and beautiful it is, and how I'm so excitedly looking forward to it, impatiently waiting for it. Okay, so you gotta make sure you are adding in those elements. Now, let's get started with our body one. By two, I just mean paragraph 2, but we're talking about body 1 here. And why is the party needed? Basically, your friend is sad, and you want a good way to meet up with everybody. Okay. Now, who's my friend? My friend would be Hannah, let's say. Hannah's condition. Let's not get into the. Yeah, let's build it up. I'm thinking, I wanted to address. You can do this the way I do it. You can copy the same thing. Okay, you say the sentence you have in your mind first, then you make it better. Okay, so I'm thinking in my mind, I wanted to address Hannah's situation with you guys. The problem is it is too formal. Okay, so now I'm going to modify it. I can't stop but think of how morose, that means depressed, how morose Hannah has been. Okay, that's more informal. And it's also not simple, like, hey, I wanted to talk about Hannah. I'm saying I can't stop but think of how morose Hannah has been. Fancier way to say it. Since she has started feeling homesick. Now, let me add a complex sentence for you. Not only will a surprise party cheer her up, it will also be a great way to catch up with you all. All right. Complex sentence, not only something something, and then comma and something something else. Okay, so you got that. Catch up is a phrasal verb. The more phrasal verbs you use, the better it is. Again, you have the list of 200 phrasal verbs within this course. Learn as many as you can, the more the better. Okay, and you got your 2 sentences. So when I say 2 points in the brainstorming, it means 2 sentences, right? 2 sentences per body. I'm gonna, I'll proofread at the end. Let's do that, okay? And I did not use any exclamation marks here because as I mentioned, I used some at the start, so I wouldn't here. Let me see if there is room. I know I did informal words. Let me see if there's room for adjectives and adverbs, okay? Let's have a look. But, okay, let's do continuously. So what that's gonna do is put an adverb. Okay, so we're forcing it. We're forcing adverbs and adjectives, and that's going to give us our range of vocab. Catch up with you all. It would be a great idea. Okay, well, great is an adjective. That's good enough. But and homesick is an adjective, which is good. Can I use anything better than great? Like I mean, you can use some formal words, but I'm thinking informal, right? It'd also be a tremendous, terrific. Terrific way. I don't say terrific with friends though. That's the thing. It'd also be a good way. I just use basic words. So can I make it fancy and informal? It'd also be an awesome. Oh, staring at me right in the face the whole time, eh? So not only will it be a surprise party cheer her up, it'll also be an awesome way to catch up with you all. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's go to our next paragraph. When and where. Simple. Simple, yet mostly misunderstood. When you see questions like this, when and where, there's also these questions with, you're moving to a new apartment, tell the landlord when you're going to move, what date you're going to move. People just mention date and time or a place. why would the examiner ask you something so simple? You know, they don't want you to just say, let's meet here at this time. You have to make that complex too. You have to make that sentence compelling with the use of all these things. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. Let's see when. All right, when and where. So okay, catch up with you all. How does this Saturday evening? Now, again, making it complex. I could say it's after 6 o'clock, but let's it past 6 p.m. How does Saturday evening past 6 p.m. Sound, semicolon, or is that too close to working hours? Question mark. Okay. Put a semicolon there. That made it complex punctuation. All right. And this sentence I've broken out into two parts. How does Saturday evening 6 p.m. sound? Or is that too close to working hours? Okay, so you got another complex sentence here. I've said do two complex sentences. So I got one here and I got one here, not only. So we're good here. Let's go to the where part. Recently. It's not really an adverb, but it's a ly. That's the reason I put it here, okay, because I want to do adverbs and adjectives. Recently, I have started. Recently, I have. So, okay, this is what's happening. I was thinking I would say I have started going to King's Pub, but I've been falling in love with King's Pub. All right. Why did I change it? So I said it simply in my head, and then I said it in a more fancy way here. And I changed it because I want to be fancier and I want to be informal. So I've been falling in love with King's Pub. And let's do a simple sentence, and I think that will be the perfect spot. I like the word spot instead of place. Again, it's a little fancier. Falling in love with King's Pub, and I think that'll be the perfect spot. So again, as I always do, please, you guys do the same. Let's analyze, all right? So, and I think that will be the perfect spot. Can I say something better? Maybe I won't, but let me try. I could have put a semicolon here and just say that it'll be the perfect spot, but I already did a semicolon, so I'm not going to do it right away. I could make it longer, but I know my words probably are too many. So let's see. Recently, I've been falling in love with King's Pub, and I cannot. Okay. So, and I mentally cannot picture a better spot. How about that, guys? So we got, and I mentally cannot picture a better spot. When you're practicing at home, please do what I'm doing. You write a simple sentence and then you write a fancier one. Because every sentence needs to be fancy. Nothing can be simple, all right? I have been falling in love with King's Pub, and I mentally cannot picture a better spot. Now let's put an exclamation mark. It's been a while since I put my last exclamation. The more exclamations, the better. And I am going to do a check on my words. How am I doing there? I am at 152, so I got room for more. I like to finish between 170 to 180, sometimes 190. CELPIP says you can do up to 200, and then you can do plus minus 10, which means you can go up to 210. I don't believe them, okay? I don't believe them. So keep it under 200 because that is the instruction, 150 to 200. Okay, now remember, exclamations, basic words, complex sentences, informal but not slang vocab, and adjectives and adverbs, okay? Now, our last point is what the classmates should do. Our point is, number one, they should bring some food and then be ready to shout surprise. Okay. Sorry, it's right here. Be ready to bring some food, right? That's the one? Bring some food, okay. Okay. Let's see. I finished the last paragraph with better spot. Okay. I was thinking about how about you guys bring some food, okay? But I just noticed I've done the same how in the previous paragraph, so I want to start with something different, okay? That's how you guys should think too. Start with something fresh every time. if you guys can take care of the food and drinks, that will take a lot of pressure off my mind. Now, one thing is we're going to King's Pub, right? So it's already a place with food and drinks. So let's change the place. I've been falling in love with Queen's Park. Okay. Now, so I can ask them to bring food and drinks. If you guys can take care of food and drinks, that will take a lot of pressure off my mind. Okay, and the next part is be ready to shout surprise. You know, what I'm thinking now, I'll tell you what I'm thinking. I would appreciate that. And then I'm going to go to my next sentence. But if I do this, I'm thinking I'm going to get this mark for semicolon, but I don't want to overdo it at this point. I already have 2 semicolons in this writing, so I'm being mindful of what I'm using, what I'm not using. So okay, I'll leave it at that. Okay, let's try to use a connector. Finally, and I need this, okay, and sorry, let's say, and this is a must. This is a must. When, who's that, my friend? Hannah? When Hannah shows up, we all have to toss our introverted natures aside and shout surprise. Yeah, surprise. Jesus, okay. There we go. We're done. Okay, so we got our 2 sentences here. Now, again, if you guys can take care of the food and drinks, that will take a lot of pressure off my mind. You can see guys, everything I'm saying is advanced. It's not like, please bring food and drinks, I will do other things. You know, this I unintentionally made it a complex sentence. Now I have 3, but no harm in having a 3rd complex sentence. 2 are enough though in a writing, but I got the 3rd one. It's complex because it starts with if, and it's like if blah blah blah, and then blah blah blah. You got a connector, which is nice. I don't have any connectors here, and it's because I have a complex sentence, and it is an informal letter, so I don't really need it. When you go to formal letters, you will see I have mentioned connectors there quite a bit. I will look at that in a bit, like connectors here. So we have connectors for formal letters, but informal letters, not really. Okay. You can also see the starting of paragraphs, I didn't really care about connectors. You don't really need them because you're talking to your friends. Okay. But having one here is important because I'm kind of concluding, so it depends on your tone. Depends where you're going, so I use a connector. Now, this is what I used as a complex, I wouldn't say complex, but a complex, not a complex sentence, but it's a complex punctuation placement that I did. If you remember from our first lesson, what I said was use commas and put an unimportant information here. It's unimportant because I can remove it, and the sentence still makes sense. Okay, but if I add it, it's like, hey, Mr. Examiner, this is some extra information for you, and I just put it in between commas, so you can see that I can put extra information effectively. Okay, and you get marks for punctuation. So finally, and this is a must, when Hannah shows up, instead of saying when Hannah comes, you want to say when Hannah shows up. Once again, these phrasal verbs you will memorize and get better at with a list of 200 phrasal verbs in this course. We all have to toss our introverted natures aside and shout surprise. Okay, so you got your exclamation mark there. You also have this expressive way. We have to toss our introverted natures aside. How did I do this? I don't know. I have this natural ability to do this, but at the same time, I am thinking this way because of the way I understand the exam. So initially, what I was showing you guys was what? Use exclamations, commas, and slang, and use adjectives and adverbs, right? Why was I saying that? Because adjectives and adverbs give every sentence more detail. So if you have a sentence like, I like to eat, boring sentence. If you say, I like to eat scrumptious food, scrumptious is an adjective. Now you add an adverb, I like to eat scrumptious food um, slowly. Now you have an adverb there. Adverb and adjectives make the sentence better. Now in this case, you got an adjective here, but an expression like toss our introverted natures aside, it's something that I'm just thinking on that frequency, like how can I define the sentence more? Just like I would use adjectives and adverbs to define sentences more, how can I define this more? How can I use it in a fancier way? And then you come up with those things, okay? But you just cannot have basic thinking or basic daily sentences. Let's have a look at our words here because we are done, guys. Words are 183. Your conclusion is already there. I'm hoping this letter finds you well. Do get back to me whenever you get a chance, and can't wait to see you guys soon. All right, so because it's a bunch of people. Shoo, you guys. All right, can't wait to see you guys soon. Best regards, Charlie. So what did I say earlier? I said the best thing about our templates is you can put in the brainstorming thing that I mentioned, the 2 points. You can put in everything about the vocab lesson that you have learned, and every point within these templates, you'll be able to do it within time. Right now, this video is going about 35 minutes. You need only 26 minutes for the exam, but I've been talking for half the time. So instead of 35 minutes, you probably can do this within 16, 17 minutes, or maybe even faster if I'm not talking, right? And you also did it with the word limit. Some people write too less, some people write too much, but you do it with the templates and structures, you always end up with the word limit, okay? It's a beautiful piece of writing. I'm trying not to self-brag, but it is. This is something that can give you a 12 easily. It's a legitimate 12-point letter or email. And the last thing I got to do is proofread. So that's another thing you want to do at the end. Proofread. And you want to set 2 to 3 minutes for that. So this part, proofread, and the brainstorming part, people think I'm just saying this as an extra and general thing. Proofreading sometimes can be a huge difference of 1 to 2 points, and that can risk your immigration, that can risk your test. Please proofread, please don't be lazy. All right, let's proofread, guys. So I don't need to proofread the template, that's good. But you should in the exam because you're gonna memorize and write it, so you might not write it correctly. I can't stop but continuously think of how morose Hannah has been since she has started feeling homesick. Not only will a surprise party cheer her up, it'll also be an awesome way to catch up with you all. Okay. I'm doubting if I should use an exclamation mark because as I said, I did earlier, but if I'm in doubt, I'll still use it if I'm unsure because I just said that it's an awesome thing. So it's very expressive. You're usually very happy about something that's awesome. So I think we should use it there. It's important. How does this Saturday evening past 6 p.m. sound, or is that too close to working hours? Recently, I've been falling in love with Queen's Park, and I mentally cannot picture a better spot. If you guys can take care of the food and drinks, that will take a lot of pressure off my mind, finally, and this is a must when Hannah shows up. We have a toss her over to nature side and shot surprise. Yep, okay, looks good, guys. So this is going to be our informal letter sample. I'm going to leave this in the class notes so you all can follow. All right, so I hope that was helpful. Let's go to the formal letter. Your office performance is getting badly affected due to some of your colleagues constantly bullying you. This is making you quite upset, and you have decided to write to your boss about it. You should mention the following details. Describe the situation, express how it makes you feel, suggest what you would like done about it. All right. Okay, guys. We start with dear, and this is always dear Mr. Harry or whoever. Okay, you can always just pick Mr. Harry or Miss whatever if they specify the gender, but it's good to just have one name so you don't have to think. All right, your full name, just write that down. HZad. All right, you can make up a name as well. It's always full name. It is sincerely. You can also say yours sincerely, but if I can save yours, save one word, use it somewhere else. That's better. Sincerely, and HZad. And then you got your 5 paragraphs in the middle. Let's look at the template. All right, the first template, I didn't change this from YouTube or for many years. This has been the best thing that you can use to start. Simple. The purpose of my writing today is to inform you about, or is to lodge a complaint. Complaining is very common in CELPIP. So lodge a complaint would be a good thing to memorize as well. And you don't have this on YouTube, so this is something new. A lot of people say register a complaint. Lodge a complaint is more fancy. Okay. And we are starting directly with the point. Okay, a main problem people have is they say a lot of stuff. I hope you're well. How are things? How was your vacation? We don't do that in the formal letters. All right, formal letters, you get to the point. All right, purpose of my writing is whatever, and it's different than you saying I'm writing this letter because. You always want to do something better, fancier, advanced. Okay, purpose of your writing is to do this. We will come at the bodies in a bit. Now, your conclusion is going to be two parts. Let's say you're complaining, okay? And if you're complaining, you always suggest something at the end. That's the SELP-IF format. So you would finish off with this. I'm looking forward to seeing how my suggestions translate into prompt actions from your side. Your kind cooperation would be most appreciated. Okay, so this is how you finish. You say that make my suggestions the actions and cooperate. This is in different cases what you can use, and I'm going to say in different or general cases where a question is not about problems and suggestions, where a question might be something like write a proposal, a business proposal to your local store. Tell them you can partner with them and how you can help them. Okay, and you can say your cooperation in this matter is greatly appreciated. If it's in the future, guys, you can change this. You can say will be greatly appreciated. Even if you leave it like this, it's okay, because is greatly appreciated is like even right now, your cooperation for a future matter is appreciated. So if it's too confusing, you can just say is. Furthermore, you got a good connector here, and open line of communication from your side in this case would greatly help out. From your side is in between commas. Again, that's a sign of fancier use of punctuation marks, putting things, information in between commas. An open line of communication is better than saying just talk to me or arrange a meeting, which every person is going to say. You're not. Furthermore, is a connector, good connector to use. And I'm not saying I'm looking forward to talking to you, because everybody's going to say that. Okay, so we're advanced. We use only the advanced words here. Okay, now we're going to go with this one here because this is you complaining about something. And so we're going to go with logic complaint. And now with the body paragraphs, you can see here we have a little bit of a template that you can use. To begin with, you start with that to begin with. You explain your first point. You go on top of that, that's your second point, okay? Next paragraph, use a complex sentence. And the complex sentence itself can have the 2 points right there, okay? Because it's going to be broken into 2 points. If you have an example to give, that's great. Or if you can't, then use another connector and add another point. The last paragraph, we're going to finish with overall. If you're concluding a situation, you can say a lot of other things too. You can say considering the above, given the aforementioned scenario, based on what I have provided you today. Or you can say conclusively. So you can use a bunch of these combinations. Really depends on what your tone is and what you're talking about. And guys, this stuff is 69 words, but it's actually because you have a bunch of these here, some extra words. So I would say, let's say 60-ish. Your total word limit should be 180. So this is, again, 30% of your work done for you. All right. And well, there's more here too, but you get the point. So it's, again, that's the magic of templates. So always remember the magic of templates, and please memorize them before your exam. Brainstorming, let's do that. Okay, I got our body 1, body 2, and your body 3. What do we have to do? 2 points per question, correct? All right, let's go with the first one. Describe the situation. This is pretty much mentioned in the question, but you have to elaborate it. Describe the situation would be you're bullying me. These guys are bullying me, and it's I was gonna say it's depressing or demotivating, but that's gonna go in part 2, where I'm gonna explain how it makes me feel. Demotivating me and discouraging me. Well, it's kind of the same thing, right? Demotivating me and mental stress, like I'm getting migraines. All right. And then again, going back to the situation, bullying me, maybe I can give a little background because I have a stutter, all right? I have a stutter, maybe. That's why they're bullying me. And when I go to body 3, suggest what you would like done about it. I would say I would like them to give them warnings. Okay, give warnings to them. That's my suggestion to my boss. And have a or separate our work cubicle. Okay, just put us in a different cubicle so we don't see each other. Okay, alrighty. I got my 2 points per question, per body. Let's get into it. This is making you quite upset and you want to talk to your boss about it. All right. Dear Mr. Harry, the purpose of my writing today is to lodge a complaint about certain office behavior that I find quite inappropriate and unethical. So why did I add unethical? Because I was thinking inappropriate is very common, and I was thinking I should say it's making me uncomfortable, which is also very common. How can I change that? Because I do want to express inappropriate, so I'll just leave inappropriate, but I'm going to add unethical. I can also say amoral, like this word amoral, but it's more, it's not used for behaviors too much. It's like, it's used with something serious, like the scientist did something which was immoral to people's health. Okay, so it's more serious, but I'm just talking about office behavior. So it's unethical would be a better word to use. And again, trying to find ways to make creative vocabulary within my writing. Let's go to my body 1. And to begin with, I have a stutter. All right, that's my first point. To begin with, my stuttering problem exposes me to a good amount of ridicule, which unfortunately has taken up has become a focal point for some of my colleagues to use against me. What did I say when I was starting this sentence? I said, to begin with, I have a stutter problem, right? And what did I actually write? So this is what I have been saying since the start of this lesson. You say simple things in your brain, and then you make it complex when you write it. Okay, how is it complex? Is because, well, first I'm gonna say dilemma. I'm gonna replace anything that I find basic to advanced. My stuttering dilemma exposes me to a good amount of ridicule, which, so ridicule, instead of people joke about me, I said ridicule, exposes me, again, at more advanced wordings. Unfortunately, once again, I have placed an extra piece of information in between commas, so that is more advanced use of vocabulary. Again, a good vocab thing here has become a focal point for some of my colleagues to use against me. Now, you might, if you have been paying attention, you should ask, why did he use good? Because I criticized good earlier, right? In the last lesson. I used good because look at my other words. My other words here are amazing. They are very advanced. If they are all advanced and I make, instead of good, I say decent or terrific or humongous, it's too much. Sometimes you need to balance them as well. If you have good things going on around it, then okay, you can leave good as it is. Keep it simple so it doesn't sound like too overdone. Okay? All right, let's look at the next one. On top of that, and this is going to be my next point. Believe me. Okay. On top of that, the verbal attacks have now transitioned to physical ones, as they're throwing things in my cubicle. You know, I want to express that. So I'm thinking, how do I say that in a better way? Have transitioned into physical ones, because it's transition. Physical ones as things are being hurled at me. I gotta check this Again, when you're practicing at home, you have the luxury of doing that. You can do that in the exam, but I'm not sure about hurl, but let's check it quick. I think that's correct. Hurl is throw an object with great force. There you go. Okay, so physical ones as things are being hurled at me. Things are things. I'm not going to say items. It's okay. Let's see how I can make this fancy if there's a chance. On top of that, the verbal attacks, verbal backlash. It's not backlash because that's not a revenge. Verbal offenses. There you go. Offenses have now transitioned into physical ones as things are being hurled at me. Let's add an adverb: constantly, frequently, constantly, repeatedly. Let's do repeatedly. I think that sounds better in this kind of situation. And can I use, let's again think of the lessons we have learned. Can we use an adjective here? My unfortunate stuttering dilemma. My inborn, is that correct? Inborn, let's check it out. Stuttering dilemma exposes me to, yeah, that should work. To which has become focal point. That's good. Okay, we got an adverb, we got an adjective. Nothing is complex here, but that's okay. We got the next sentence, so it's supposed to be complex. So let's go into that. And you know what I want to do is I want to always monitor where you're at. I want to monitor my words. This one is optional, so I'm going to ignore it. I'm at 129, so it's pretty good. I'll see, because what I'm thinking is if I'm running out of words, I will just do one complex sentence with both points. So you have the luxury of doing that, because complex sentences can have 2 points, right? But for now, I'll try it. I'll try to make 2 different sentences just to show you guys. So I'll do one complex sentence with just the first point and the second sentence with the second point. This bullet point is about express how it makes you feel, and the first thing we said was demotivating. So let's start a complex sentence. Given that they are frequently who's they? The things that are being thrown at me or the people? So I gotta specify here. Given that my colleagues are, or again, I was gonna say, given that my colleagues are around me, but I just realized I can do something better. Given that I'm surrounded by my colleagues. Okay, challenge for you guys. What is better? I'm surrounded by my colleagues constantly, or I'm surrounded by my colleagues 24/7. Think about it. Which one sounds better right now? 24/7. Why? You just said, Sean, you just said you should use Lee. So frequently, constantly would be better, but I just used Lee here. Okay, so now I'm going to do something different. And 24/7, a number with a bunch of words, will have a range. It's a little different, and we want to throw different things at the examiner. We want to hurl different things at the examiner. Okay, so let's do that. So given that I'm surrounded by my colleagues 24/7, comma, it culminates in a super depressing mood. Let me write this and then I'll fix it. Super depressing mood for me. Okay, it results in so instead of results, by the way, you can say culminates. It's more advanced. Culminates in a super depressing mood for me. And an extremely, let's do extremely. You can put a Lee in there. It's a little break now from this. It's after a long clause. You have a Lee here, which is not really an adverb here. But good place to put it. Extremely depressing, gloomy. You can say that instead of depressing. It comes in a extremely gloomy. What else can I say? Mood. Instead of mood, is there something? Comes in an extremely depressing work environment for me. Working atmosphere for me. Extremely gloomy. It comes. You know what I'm thinking is I feel like I've said this somewhere. Gloomy focal point somewhere. Okay, I would like to say toxic. Given that I am surrounded by my colleagues 24/7, it culminates in an extremely toxic working atmosphere for me. Because toxic is just the best word to use in the situation. At work, people use toxic work a lot of times, and it's more advanced, something not commonly used. So this is good. Now, mental stress, and this could be my example, or I can use connector. So if this was another point, I could have said moreover, right? Where do you get connectors from? My first lesson for vocabulary. So I mentioned a bunch of connectors, and you can use one of those. But I can use an example here because this is very similar to what I'm already talking about. So let's use an example. Examples are a great way to make it more descriptive and again give a range. You know, here you have reasons, you'll have reasons later, and now you have an example. So it's good to give that change. Once again, we're targeting the range of expressions and vocabulary and sentences. So, for instance, I get migraines or mental stress. My doctor has been pointing out warning signs of early depression since this began. Let me add something, which is on top of my already existing suicidal thoughts. It's taking a very dark turn, but if I take a dark turn, I get to use good words. All right, suicidal thoughts, it's not just I want to suicide. No, suicidal thoughts, better way of saying it. I put a semicolon here. Okay, I put a, this is very interesting. By the way, I'll just say I put a semicolon here, and it's breaking the sentence into two parts, which is awesome, right? That's what we want. Semicolons are also going to show that you are using advanced punctuation. Instead of saying my doctor has been warning me, I'm saying has been pointing out warning signs of early depression. Okay, more fancy. And guys, I have a mistake here, okay? This mistake, I just realized it because I was proofreading right now. This mistake I explained in the previous lesson. I unintentionally made it here, but it's a good learning point. Check it out. You can pause the video, check out the mistake. What is the mistake here? Okay, so I'm assuming you pause it, and now I'm going to continue. This right here is the mistake. So this is what I mentioned in my last video. We shouldn't use which or anything with semicolon because semicolons means independent clauses. But this clause is not independent. It depends on the previous sentence because it's saying which is on top of whatever. So it's related to the previous one. So I can fix it easily. Just say this is on top. All right. Now this becomes an independent sentence. You can also put a full stop and say the same thing. You cannot put a full stop and ever start a sentence with a which, right? So that fixes it and gives me a good paragraph as well by using semicolon. All right, that should be good. I am thinking again that my words are too many. Let me just verify. So let's say up to here, 170. They are getting more, but there's a bunch of fluff here, so we'll remove that. Let's go to our last paragraph, guys. Suggest what you would like done about it. Okay, my two suggestions are giving warnings and separate our work cubicles. All right. Now, see the tone of your writing. You have gone from explaining the situation to explaining how you feel, and you felt very intense, right? So, I wouldn't say overall. I wouldn't say conclusively. Let's remove those. Because it's not like a conclusion in this case. It's not like a conclusion I'm making, like I found these things, so I conclude this. I can say given the aforementioned scenario, because it's like, you know, look what I have said, or based on what I have provided you today, like pay attention to me, you know, these things are important. What I just mentioned above is very important. So I got to relate it with that. But I won't, because too many words. I can just say considering the above. Okay, I am trying to save my words too. So I'm going to use something a little smaller, but again, having the same meaning, right? If you're saying based on the aforementioned reasons, considering the above is the same thing. So considering the above, my first suggestion is give them warnings. I am pleading you to start warning them. Pleading you, not asking you or requesting you. Pleading you, because you want to make it more intense. You want to use advanced vocabulary. Okay, pleading you to start warning them, and then the next thing is separate our word cubicles. Warning them for the sake of my mental health. All right, I use sake of my mental health instead of for my mental health, just trying to be fancy. Okay, and the last part is separate our word cubicles. If in case that seems to be cumbersome, troublesome, cumbersome. Okay, what I was thinking in my brain was in case that seems to be a problem, and then you think of something better. Okay, in case that seems to be cumbersome, comma, please move them away from my cubicle. Let me say current cubicle, because I can use an adjective current. It's something that defines the cubicle, makes it more descriptive. Once again, remember, I said use adjectives and adverbs as much as possible. I'm thinking if I should say desperately pleading you, like desperately would be an adverb. And it's just too much. Desperately pleading you to start warning them for the sake of my mental health. Let's see. If I have two adverbs in this writing, then I don't need to force it, okay? So this is something you guys also want to evaluate. Surrounded by culminates, for instance, pointing out. To begin, the dilemma which unfortunately has become a focal point onto the verbal offenses I've tried to difficult ones. Hurled at me repeatedly. I got one. Unfortunately is not really one. Okay, complain about. I wish to complain about the certain office behavior that I find kind of inappropriate, and it's okay. All right. I am thinking I should put an adverb somewhere here if I can. Find quite inappropriate. I can't. So I'll try to put one here. Do I have one here? I'm looking forward to seeing how much decisions translate into. Okay, you know what? Let's do this. This is the template. You don't want to mostly change it because you can just copy paste it. But we're going to make a slight change. If you have, two adverbs, two adjectives in a letter or essay, that's good. You don't have to. Even we can get away with one adverb because everything else is beautiful. But let's, for the sake of the range of expressions, let's put an adverb. And this is what we're going to do. Your conclusion was supposed to be this. I'm looking forward to seeing how my suggestions translate into prompt actions from your side. Your kind cooperation would be most appreciated. Instead of that, we're just going to change it slightly. Prompt actions. I look forward to seeing how my suggestions promptly translate into actions from your side. Simple. Okay, just remove prompt and make it promptly. And that brings another adverb, and we're good. Okay, I got decent amount of adjectives there, and I got my commas, semicolons, my complex sentences. This is complex right here. This is complex right here, and to begin with is complex too, by the way. To begin with is one part, and then you have the next part. Okay, and this sentence has a third part too. It's like after, unfortunately, you have a third one. You have your commas here, putting in an extra piece of information in between. And that's it, guys. Yeah, that's it, guys. We're done with this one. Let me just see one thing that was my concern throughout, my words, and they are 185. So actually, I was pretty decent with them. I didn't exceed the word limit. And now, what are we going to do? What's the last step, guys? Remember? If you said proofread, that is correct. So you proofread 2 to 3 minutes. Let's do that. Okay, personal writing today, logic complaint, certain office behavior I found inappropriate and unethical to begin with, mind-born stuttering, dilemma, exposing me to a good amount of ridicule, which in version has become difficult punishment, inclusion, the verbal. What's up now? Transition to physical words as things are being hurled at me repeatedly. Given that I'm surrounded by my colleagues, for sign and in the next noise around. For instance, my doctor has been pointing out warning signs of early depression since this began. This is on top of my existing societal thoughts. Considering the above, I'm pleading you to start warning them for the stigma in case that seems to be cumbersome. Please move them from my current cubicle. So I'm probably transferring you. Okay. That's it. All right. This is again easily a 12-point writing. You can see we did it with an amazing speed. If I subtract my explanations, it's half the speed or maybe even lesser. Templates help me build the intro and conclusion, and it helped me with even the paragraphs. Even in body paragraphs, here you can use the words from the templates, right? Most importantly, guys, what I want to teach you, the aim for this whole thing, for me to write everything in front of you guys, was to show you how I think when I write, was to show you that the templates, how the templates can be very effectively used and how they really help in reducing your time, reducing your mistakes, and always finishing on words. Even when I was thinking I'm too much on words, I was not. I was perfect with words. And I wanted to show you how I think. Every time I write, I have a simple version in my head, and then I go back to all the rules that I've taught you in the first class about vocab. You know, how can I make it fancy, or how can I make it complex? How can I use good punctuation? And that's what you got to start learning too. All right. So please do those things. Follow those steps. Every step. Brainstorming, proofreading is also important. Memorize these templates. Think like how I am thinking. Always try to make your sentences and structures more complex, and nothing can stop you from getting a good point, good mark in task 1. For task 2, let's look at the next video and figure out how to get a good score in task 2. See you guys later.